I want you to do something with me right now. Take a slow breath in through your nose, just 4 seconds. Hold it deep in your chest for another 4. Then breathe out gently through your mouth as if you're blowing out a candle. 4, 4, 6. That's all it takes for your heart to start calming down. Do you notice it? When we're afraid, our breathing becomes short and fast, as if our body is fighting its own panic. But your heart doesn't need panic. It needs rhythm. One of my patients, George, 72, once told me, "Doctor, in that heart attack, the only thing I remembered was your voice telling me to breathe and count." That single act kept him calm long enough to call 911 before the ambulance arrived. Research from the Mayo Clinic shows that slow, mindful breathing can lower your heart rate by 10 to 15 beats per minute, improve circulation, ease chest pressure, and keep your brain supplied with oxygen when every second matters. So if one day your chest feels heavy and your breath grows tight, remember before you do anything else. Breathe. Slowly, deeply, with awareness. Sometimes that simple breath is the thin thread that holds you between life and death. Now, imagine this: you're home alone. Your heartbeat is erratic. Your breath shortens, and you know something isn't right. Most people instinctively reach for the phone, but there's one action even more important. Open the door. I once treated a woman named Linda, 68. She lived alone in a second-floor apartment. One night she had a heart attack. The ambulance arrived in 7 minutes, but it took another 5 to break through her locked door. Later she told me if I'd had the strength to unlock that door, maybe I wouldn't have spent a month in the hospital. A heart attack drains your body fast. Within 3 to 5 minutes, standing up can become impossible. So the moment you feel chest pain or numbness in your arm, walk to your door, unlock it, and turn on every light. Light helps rescuers spot your home from the street. A bright cloth in the window or even a small whistle can be a lifeline. I tell my patients, tape a medical information sheet right behind your front door, your name, medications, allergies, and install a lockbox with a code registered to your local fire department. It lets them in without losing precious time. Sometimes the difference between being saved and being lost is simply a door that was left unlocked. I remember a man named Robert, 74, telling me, "Doctor, when I had my heart attack, all I wanted was to lie down. But when I did, it felt like an elephant sat on my chest." He didn't realize that lying flat is the worst thing you can do. When your heart is struggling to pump, lying flat sends too much blood rushing back, forcing it to work even harder. Instead, sit up about 45 degrees. Lean against a wall or pillows, knees slightly bent, feet on the floor. This position lets gravity help your circulation, eases the heart's workload, and gives your lungs space to expand. If you start feeling faint, lie on your right side. Bend one leg slightly to stabilize yourself. That keeps your airway open and prevents choking if you vomit, which happens more often than you'd think. Loosen your collar, unbuckle your belt, open a window. Cool air helps your heart relax. I often tell my patients, don't be afraid to sit up. Let your body work with your heart, not against it. A small change in position may seem trivial, but it can keep oxygen flowing just long enough for help to arrive. And then there's Henry, 70 years old, living alone in a small wooden house in Oregon. One winter night, he had a heart attack. His phone was in another room. When rescuers arrived, the lights were off, the door was locked, and Henry couldn't call out. They broke the door down after nearly 10 minutes. 10 minutes, the border between a heart still beating and one that isn't. Since then, I've told every patient, build your emergency communication system as if you're giving yourself another chance at life. Write your address, phone number, and gate code on a bright card next to every phone. Program 911. As speed dial number 1 button, not 3. And please, don't charge your phone in another room at night. 43% of fatal heart attacks happen between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. when people can't reach their phones. If you live alone, wear your medical alert device even when you sleep, even in the shower. I know it's tempting to take it off just for comfort, but too often, that's exactly when the heart gives out. Tell a trusted neighbor or your building manager, give them a spare key. A single call made at the right time. One alarm that rings through the night, sometimes that's the sound of life itself knocking on your door. One morning I got a trembling phone call from Charles, a former patient of mine, 76 years old. "Doctor," he said, "I think I just escaped death." He told me that while making coffee, he suddenly felt a crushing pain in his chest, sweat pouring down his face. But then he remembered the class I once taught at the senior center, the one where I talked about cough CPR. He leaned against the kitchen counter, took a deep breath, and coughed hard from his chest, not from his throat. Then again, every 2 seconds. Deep breath, strong cough. Deep breath, strong cough. While doing that, he managed to reach for the phone and dial 911. By the time the paramedics arrived, his heart was still beating. Cough CPR isn't a miracle cure, but it buys you time. Those golden 60 to 90 seconds to keep oxygen and blood flowing to your brain. Each cough squeezes your chest like a manual pump, pushing blood when your heart is struggling to keep its rhythm. I always remind my patients, only do this if you're still conscious, and don't treat it as a cure. It's just a fragile bridge, something to help you stay alive long enough for help to arrive. So, if you're ever alone and your heart begins to flutter or skip, don't panic. Breathe deep, cough hard, and keep a steady rhythm. Sometimes that breath and that cough are what hold you here between this moment and the next. I once treated a woman named Martha, 69, a retired teacher. She told me that while watering her flowers, she felt her chest tighten like a fist. Then she remembered what I had told her. If you ever suspect a heart attack, chew an aspirin. Don't swallow it. She reached into her purse, grabbed a 325 mg tablet, and chewed slowly, the bitter taste filling her mouth. 15 minutes later, when the ambulance arrived, she was still alert. The doctors later said that little pill had bought her precious time. Most people think aspirin is just a pain reliever, but during a heart attack, it's a silent hero, stopping the clot from growing and letting blood squeeze through the blockage. And how you take it makes all the difference. When you chew it, the coating breaks down, and the medicine is absorbed right through your mouth, reaching your bloodstream in 14 minutes, twice as fast as swallowing it whole. I tell all my patients, keep aspirin in every place you spend time. Bedroom, kitchen, car, purse. Check the expiration date every 6 months. If you're on blood thinners like warfarin, talk to your doctor about what's safe for emergencies. That bitterness may be unpleasant, but sometimes that bitter taste is the taste of life itself. One small pill. One timely decision. It can be the line between being lost and being saved. One evening, I was called to the home of Richard, 73. When I arrived, he was sitting on his couch, pale but conscious. In front of him was an open bottle of nitroglycerin. He looked up and said, "Doctor, I remembered your advice. Sit down first, then take it." That calm, deliberate act saved him from a massive heart attack. Nitroglycerin is a special medicine. It widens your blood vessels, relieves pressure on your heart, and helps blood flow through narrowed arteries. But many people use it wrong. They swallow it instead of placing it under the tongue. You have to let it dissolve slowly under your tongue, where tiny blood vessels absorb it within seconds. If after some 5 minutes, the pain doesn't ease, take another. After 10 minutes, a third, but never more than 3 in 15 minutes. And never ever take it if you've used erectile dysfunction drugs like Viagra or Levitra within 48 hours. That mix can cause a sudden deadly drop in blood pressure. Keep the tablets in their original, dark glass bottle, away from heat and light, and replace them every 6 months. Exposure to air quickly weakens them, and if possible, use aspirin and nitroglycerin together. Research shows this combination can boost survival by up to 58%. One tiny pill under your tongue. One calm breath. Sometimes that's all it takes to keep your heart beating for years to come. I still remember years ago, when I worked at a cardiology ward in Boston, we used to teach older patients a little trick that seemed almost too simple, yet incredibly effective: stimulating the vagus nerve. In most U.S. hospitals, patients over 60 are trained in this technique, because sometimes just a few seconds of doing it correctly can bring your heartbeat back to normal. No medication needed. When you feel your heart racing or fluttering, do this. Take a deep breath, close your mouth, pinch your nose, and gently bear down, as if you're trying to have a bowel movement. Hold it for 10 to 15 seconds, then exhale slowly. This is called the Valsalva maneuver. And it's not mystical at all. You're simply activating the vagus nerve, the body's natural brake that connects your brain and heart, helping slow an irregular heartbeat. I once had a 68-year-old patient named James, whose pulse shot up to 140 beats per minute. After 20 seconds of this maneuver, his heart rate began to slow. The color returned to his face, and he could talk again. Harvard Medical School has confirmed that the Valsalva can reduce heart rate by 25 to 30% during sudden episodes of rapid heartbeat. But remember, only use it if you're conscious and not in severe chest pain. You don't always need fancy devices or expensive drugs. Sometimes, one steady breath, a bit of focus, and faith in your own body's strength are all you need to save your life.